Good afternoon. Welcome to Wednesday. Go
Good
ahead,
afternoon.
Mike. Yeah.
Mike Moss, Public Services Director. We'd like to start off with the executive session for 15 minutes for contract negotiations.
Okay. So we will go back, contract negotiations, 15 minutes in executive session. Okay.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 1:57 p.m.
Okay. Back from executive session, no decisions rendered. We'll just head down the rest of your.
Thank you. Number one, transfer station update. Every time I talk positive about the transfer station, it goes sideways.
Ruh-roh.
Well, last week we were there a couple days along with other staff, but mainly in the mornings. It was 7:30 to 9:30. We didn't spend the whole time there, but part of the time. And I was actually there yesterday for 45 minutes. It was average like 9 minutes per commercial trailer. It's like, great, things are awesome. Kelly forwarded a phone call she had yesterday and to the commissioner's office. And I called the gentleman back. He waited an hour yesterday. He showed up at 10:30 and didn't get dumped till 11:30. But it was after the commercial window in the morning where you should go really fast. So I actually sat over there this morning for an hour, and there's a trailer that came in the same time I did, and he got dumped the same time I was leaving, so he was there a full hour. So if you're not there in the great 7:30 and 9:30 window, you are going to wait additional time. So we still have some bugs to work out with them over there. To me, it looked like they have one excavator to clear both ends of the transfer station. So they had an excavator working on the packer end, their waste control trucks, and it piled up really heavily on the south end. And so once that excavator came down, cleared space, they were able to get some trailers in, but then the excavator moved north and it held up again. So it just took a while. So we'll talk to them about logistics and possibly having a second excavator or a mini or something to help push debris on that south end to keep those trailers rolling through there. So still working on it, but once again, a waste control issue that we're trying to resolve with them. So
Anything else to do with the Tootle site?
yeah, we had a chance to visit that, and it's certainly an opportunity for us to take trailers up there. We're hoping that the changes we made down there would force us to do something different at Tootle, and that's why we were pretty excited last week when we had the wait times as low as they were. If they continue at the pace of hour plus, we'll have to revisit the opportunity of opening up the Tootle transfer station or Tootle drop box weekly or daily for commercial trailers. So give us another week or two to see where we're at before we make that move.
Okay. Good to go.
Do you want to pass this out? So the next item that we have to discuss is a mass notification incident response for Public Works. It's been a while, but I had mentioned to the board quite a few months back that I was working on an incident response and a notification system for members of the public and also our department. And so I just handed you guys some documents, light reading as always. But the top one just kind of has a little bit of our current state and how we do things, and then what I would like us to look like from a communication standpoint with the public. Last year, I started kind of documenting and writing things down, events that we could have had better notification with the public on, how we could have notified people on certain areas if their water line was broke or if their road was shut down. I think we do a pretty good job as a public works agency and countywide, really, when we know something's coming, like a large construction project or overlay. We're really good about doing press releases and website updates. It's really the incidents as they happen that are critical that we don't have advance notice, which is a lot of our weather events. The only way to really tell people what's going on is through social media, which is great, except for not everyone, believe it or not, is on social media, or not everyone is on Facebook. Or if they don't check their social media for a few hours, they may not be aware. So what we started to do is look at different notification systems, and this started almost, I guess, probably about 2 years ago. Myself, DEM, IT, I think Kelly was on a couple of the demos. We did a lot of demonstrations, and I actually recently secured 3 bids. And then the one company that I would like to talk about is Doppler, and they were the lowest bid with what we are looking for. And so that's the one I'd like to look at. And their bid came in at about $30,000 per year. What they offer and what I want to talk about, I don't want to take up too much of your time, would be, advanced event notice. So when we do know ahead of time, we can do all the things we normally do, but then we can also let people know via email, text message, or if we wanted to, or if they opt into it, phone call. And then we would also be able to do that with, an incident type of event or an on-demand as it happens. The great thing is, of course, the text messaging. Maybe everybody doesn't have social media, but most all have cell phones. And then they'd be able to receive text messages, but also they can send us information. And so during events, what I've found in the last decade is that people on the ground in their yards or whatever have the best and most up-to-date information as far as images go. And so they're able to actually text us images of what's going on, like here's my driveway, my power is out. And we can not only receive those, obviously, but we can also hold those as records for our project management and events and response. So that's one really awesome thing that I'm pretty excited about that. Another item is we don't currently have the ability as a public works staff, obviously, to do mass notification, but DEM does. They use Flash Alert, and unfortunately for us and them, you have to pay by text. And so it's an added cost if we ever utilize DEM to provide this notification. It costs them money, we would reimburse them. So it is a little bit of a hardship. So really, I don't think I've never made the request for DEM to send out a mass notification on our behalf for those reasons. And usually if it's critical enough, they will do it themselves. So this would give us the ability to do it in-house and notify people who want to be notified, right? DEMs will go out through the IPAWS oftentimes, which is the FEMA federal way of doing it. It has to meet certain criteria. Ours wouldn't necessarily have to meet that because they'd be opting into that information. Another item that I think is really exciting is it can use geolocation, which was the only firm Doppler that we found that could do this. You know, if Commissioner Rader lives on a certain road and we're shutting that road down and he's opted in, we can use the geolocation just to notify anybody on that road who has given us permission.
Do we have a system similar to that through DEM? Because when that fire was at Colombo Chemical, I got a text.
Yes,
Said I had to do it
that's
that
Flash Alert. Yep, that's Flash Alert, and they can do those with doing like a reverse 911 if they meet certain federal criteria. So interestingly enough, you can't just text people without their consent unless it qualifies under FEMA's guidelines. So we're not super well equipped and trained like DEM is to do that and to walk that fine line of what is or isn't. They are still our main contact for something of that magnitude, like a fire near home, stuff like that. They'd still be the go-to. Ours would be mainly water sewer maintenance, road closures, and weather events and transportation hiccups. I won't go through every single one, but just another one that I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of is this would actually take place of our dispatch. We currently use one in town and we use them for our dispatch. And what they do is somebody has a tree on the road, they call, and that routes to a supervisor. There's not a lot of triage in that. It's, some people, what we would consider a branch, they call a tree. Or, my whole driveway is washed out. Maybe it's a pothole. So it offers the opportunity to triage these. Doppler will take these calls. They are people, not computers, and they are based out of America. So it's not like we're sending these off to, somewhere else and we get these calls and maybe we can't make sense of what they're saying. But this is something that is, I think they're based in Georgia. So, but it's funny, but it's not, because we have had that with other companies that we heard really negative reviews about because of that. People don't like that because they can't really articulate what they're trying to say. And the other item is safety.
Well, they're from Georgia down south.
We might have similar issues. I don't know. Yeah, being from Longview, we'll probably understand them easier. Safety is the last one I wanted to go over. Right now, our safety, we do a 2-person call out. That's our safety program, because we're not just going to send one person out to respond in the middle of the night, in the middle of the night with potential weather issues that could harm them. And so we send them out in groups of 2s. And then when they're done with the job, they pretty much either call or text their supervisor, and then they're done. Doppler would allow us to not only kind of have a clock in and clock out feature with them, it also allows us to report it and also track it. We have certain contractual obligations that requires us to monitor and provide overtime equally by the year per shop. And so the supervisors are responsible for tracking that. So if we call the 3 of you, you didn't respond, Commissioner Rader. Commissioner Farrell responded but said no, and Commissioner Dahl came in. They would actually have to track each and every one of those instances by phone call. And that's a lot of work per call in the winter time, and there's a lot of room for error in tracking. And so we would have the ability to not have to do that anymore, and they would do that for us, included in this cost. So that was a lot. I went down some rabbit holes. It's really important to me. I think it's super important from us as a public works agency to be able to get this information out to people at the time it's happening, and then also the ability to get information back from them. So I will be bringing this to the board on a Monday, not next Monday, but in the future. I just wanted to make sure you guys had the information ahead of time to review, and then if you had questions, we can do that on a Monday as well.
So flash alert is a reverse 911.
It's also not just a river, yes, but it's also a mass notification program, and we actually demoed that as well, that service.
Just geofencing?
I don't recall, I don't know that they did geofencing on that one. I think it's all on demand. So when DEM determines that, then they can use GIS or geofencing to make sure, like in your example, the chemical fire, they would have had to use some kind of GIS to, and I don't know if that's DEM going in there and saying, here's the area, call these numbers, or if that's actually Flash Alert doing that for them. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember that from our demo.
Well, I guess the reason I'm asking is if I'm in Portland and my house is on fire, well, not my house, the whole neighborhood's on fire and they're evacuating,
Would you know?
I'm gonna get it from reverse, but the other side of this, Doppler is a volunteer sign-on only, right?
Yeah, you're opting in, correct?
If I don't opt in, then Doppler isn't gonna work for me.
Right, if you don't, unless it's one of those qualifying IPAWs. So using your example, if you had a fire near your home, it wouldn't matter if you were opted in or not. You would still get that reverse 911 feature because it's already established. The only way that so if you were opted out of Doppler, correct, you wouldn't know. We'd still use the same information like a Facebook update or, you know what I mean? It would be the same as it is now. You wouldn't have that advantage if it didn't qualify as an emergency event.
So if I am signed up for Doppler, am I gonna get notified twice, one from each agency?
Depending on the incident, you could. Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And does it matter if you have a landline or if you have cell phone?
Nope.
Because I know the one with the DEM, if you don't have a landline, don't you have to opt in to get your cell phone in?
It could be, and
Yeah.
does anybody,
okay.
yeah, so it's, okay. Yeah, and I'm not, with Doppler, because you're volunteering what line and what information you want, it's by your choice. With DEMs, I'm not 100% sure how the IPAWS works.
Yeah, I think it is. If you have a landline, you have to opt into your cell phone number.
Okay. And I know Flash Alert too, you have to like sign up. I know with the schools use Flash Alert. You have to sign up every year and re-sign up and pretty much tell them you're still interested in receiving alerts. So we would internally have to determine how often we wanted to do that. But and before I'm done, I think what makes us a little bit different, aside from the mass notification, which is the obvious, is it also gives us that dispatch feature. So it's kind of a two-in-one product, which is going to benefit us dramatically as well. So that's just the last thing. Any more questions?
Oh, you said it's $30,000 a year?
Mhm,
There's a
mhm.
flat fee regardless how many times we use it?
Correct, yeah. And some of the services we found were in, I call them blocks. They call them something else, but essentially you have 100,000 blocks, which is like 100,000 calls or text messages. So that's the other thing that DEM is working with, is at least when I talked to them about a year or two ago, they had purchased it in blocks. So we try not to ask them to use it because we know they're paying by text message, by phone call. And so this service isn't by block, it's unlimited. It's not based upon how many texts or calls we send, it's just part of our service.
Okay.
And then I had sent just some pictures. Oh, you dropped that, just so you know. Just a Hall of Justice update. I've been doing my weekly ones, but these ones I have pictures for. So they had showed us this the other day, and I was Kelly and I were like, hey, I think our board would like to see these. So just high level, we have 2 department moves done, DEM and the clerk's office. Clerk's office moved yesterday, and that was a good move. I stopped by there and talked to them a couple times. Things seem to be going well. This week, we're looking at our Superior Court admin move. That's on Friday, so just a heads up there. Moving forward, one of our, well, probably our largest, most diverse department is going to be the sheriff's office with how many divisions they have. And so that will be our next large move. And so we'll be working on that probably for a little bit up until the moves the next month or so, and identifying all the different spaces they have to go. Just project status, switchgear install. You guys are all well aware of that. That was Labor Day weekend. Our roof units are installed. If you got my crane pick email that was set up a couple weekends in a row, that was what they were doing. Our electrical upgrades are continuing, so we're continuing to move through and update smaller panels with conduit, new conduit runs, and then also a lot of our ceilings are coming down in the basement. This first picture of the switchgear is when the wall was in place, the demo of the wall, and then the back of the switchgear install, and then new pictures of what it looks like now on that 3rd page.
So Anna, just so you're aware, I tried to open the email
Mhm.
to show these
Mhm.
and I had to get approval and my approval was denied to view the.
That's from yeah, I think that's from Millig, and it was at Google. Yeah, I can, I'll work on that. I'll just do yours on our Teams, and then you don't have to worry about that. Moving on, this is a DEM basement area. You can see all the ceiling tiles are out, and you can see all the spaghetti of cables. That's something that we're working with Millig on getting those all organized and tied up and in place.
This is what it looked like when they took the ceiling out. They weren't tied together. They didn't untie
Correct.
anything. This is what it was.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
We anticipate, just for the record, that, or take it off the record, I don't know, that this is going to be pretty status quo for a lot of our ceilings there. Yes,
Okay.
We're guessing a lot of those aren't being utilized over the years, especially with 911 in the
A lot
basement.
of
There was
these
so,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know IT doesn't have time right now or resources to go through and probably check each of those lines, but at a certain point, it needs to
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah.
Just moving forward, the picture on this next one, this is DEM and dispatch. This is actually a DEM. This is one of those units up top. And then you can see on the right-hand side, that's the old 911 space with all the ceilings down. There was a lot of insulation in there. They assumed that insulation had asbestos in it, which was part of an increased cost. But thankfully, there is no asbestos in there. So that's a great thing. That would have been very expensive. After this project's done, we'll likely replace those floor tiles as well. You can see in that picture on the right-hand side. Up to the roof units. This is pretty impressive. What the roof looked like before with the conduit line, it was reminiscent of the spaghetti ceiling tile it was just not organized. It wasn't straight. It was messy looking. All of our new units they just look great. Whether it's because they're new or they're just so much better, the installs on them look great. On the right picture on the right-hand side, we also have surge protectors installed on all of our heating units, which is actually something I experienced recently as a homeowner. When you lose power and you get power kicked back on, most homeowners don't have surge protectors on their unit, and it fries components like the compressor and other smaller motorized features. So we have surge protectors on each of our units, which is great for us moving forward in protecting us from malfunctions due to power loss and gain. And I think this just last picture I have is more roof units. You can see more of those surge protectors by each unit. And then also you can see that nice copper, those copper lines that are nice and straight and angled correctly. So,
The kids would say that's a satisfying picture.
I know, like, as long as some people get that, right? Especially if you saw kind of what it looked like before. And that's, unless the board has questions on the HOJ HVAC projects, that's all the pictures and status update I had.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Commissioner Sean Rowe here. Cook Ferry Spoils, we've had a contract going out there for removal of those materials that is coming to an end at the end of 2025. We have received conversations with the contractor out there. They'd like to extend that for a year, increase the minimums that we have, and continue that project. We have started seeing those materials leave in a more significant amount since the Port of Longview Rail project has started. They're about halfway through the minimums there. They expect to see that very close by the end of December, but they would like to continue on. They are requesting the minimum increase from 150 to 175, just based on some of the speculations for 2026 and not knowing what the commercial market's going to look like. And we're just wondering if the board would be open to something of that.
Are they taking the Scotch broom with them?
That would sweeten the deal.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, when they scrape that ground down, it looks really clean, so. You know, our end goal here is to make room for some more dredge spoils in the future, whatever that may look like, as long as we encourage the removal of the spoils and keep it clear.
And whatever they take, it ends up going into our parks and stuff, so, right?
Mhm,
So
Yep. Yeah, it would be a no change on the royalty fee, still the $2.06 per yard. If the
Yeah.
board's open to that, we'd start getting that moving forward then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
That's scary.
No, it's not scary. This is
Okay.
more of a, Susan asked for board direction on how much you want me to dive into the Spirit Lake Tunnel, what you want me, what, if anything, you want me to be providing you information-wise for Mount St. Helens, because Public Works is the historic repository of that and past boards. So when they did the last Mount St. Helens report, that was something that Public Works reviewed and gave comments to the board in order to do letters. So I'm kind of looking for guidance from you, how much you want me to be doing on this, in background information, what you'd like me to provide for you, so that I'm following what you guys want, and the direction you want me to be moving. If there's anything you want me to bring for the next public meeting, that I'm just looking for more of a direction. I have started reading the report. I've made it through the executive summary and dove a little into the background of their two top choices, but I haven't gone any further than that.
Two top choices, speaking of Forest Service,
For the Forest Services,
have they got that narrowed down to two top choices?
yes, their two top choices are, one is repair of the tunnel, and making that, restoring the capacity to 550 CFS. And then their other top choice is to install a pressure pipe, do minor rehabilitation of the tunnel, and start building an overflow channel to reconnect the North Fork Toutle to the Spirit Lake. But the main outfall would be the new pressurized tunnel. So those are their two top choices. And I love the sentence in here that they wrote after their alternatives analysis, based on the effects of the alternatives, the responsible official will decide which primary and redundant outflow measures, along with the means of a permanent access to outflow infrastructure, to construct. So basically, they say, here are our top two choices. Here's our environmental review of it, and the responsible official will pick whichever one of those two that they decide is best. So they don't have, this is the one we're choosing, that I have found in here yet.
Did they do any seismic stuff? Because, you know, there was some talk of that
They did not,
yesterday.
yeah, there's not a whole lot of concentration on the seismic. The pressure pipe because it is a steel pipe, is more resistant than the tunnel itself to the seismic. And the natural channel obviously would be more resistant because it's a little bit more what Mother Nature would have.
But isn't the blockage in that right now? People are a little bit leery about getting in there and getting that out of there because it's
Yes.
because of the activity that's been around there.
Yeah, there's a shear zone in there that is what keeps moving around in that spot. They've repaired it before, and when they did, it became restricted, and now it's even worse.
Hasn't it created an alternate route? So the water is now coming out a different spot on the dam?
So the pressure pipe will come out the same location as the tunnel, and their natural channel would come out in a different route and tie into the headwaters of the North Fork Toutle. So they would have two outfalls essentially from it in two different locations.
And ultimately, who makes that decision?
Of the Forest Service and probably in conjunction with the Corps. Because the way this is working, the Forest Service owns it. The Corps is the one that will be doing the construction, but it's the Forest Service's property, which has never made a sense to a lot of people because it was constructed by the Corps, but the Forest Service owns it and it's maintained by the Corps, but it's still a Forest Service budget item.
What's the diameter of that tunnel? Do you know? And how much is that shear zone shifted already?
So the tunnel is 8,460 feet long and it's 11-foot diameter. Let me see, I didn't write down in my short notes how much it shifted. I think I highlighted it in the text. Well, let's see. Good rock, bad rock. So the current maximum outflow is 400 CFS. I'm still looking for, I can't find it quickly. I
Okay,
can
no
find it for
worries.
you.
In answer to your question, how much do we want you to do? It sounds to me like at some point in time, we'll have to make a decision as to whether they're gonna fight for this one or we're gonna fight for that one. So my ask to you would be, when it comes to that point, you'd have the information to say, hey, I think it's best to fight for this pressurized one, this is why, or it's best to fight for this one, this is why.
Yeah.
If that helps at all.
That does help. If we want, do you want a comment letter on this EIS, draft EIS, because they're due the end of October. So we have a month for me to get a good information and get you guys some background.
Susan, who do you work with to gather this information to help us get this stuff done?
Well, me. I can reach out to the Corps. Now that Patrick's back, he has a lot of the background information on Mount St. Helens. Also, it's really the two of us that have worked on Mount St. Helens.
Who's the deciding authority?
On this,
Between those two options, who's the deciding authority that you read?
this would be, for who would make the decision on the recommendation to bring to you?
No, on which one they're gonna use.
Okay, so that would be the USDA, which would ultimately be Congress, would be my guess based on their recommendation, because Congress will have to fund it.
So anything between here and there is just a recommendation.
Yes,
Because you're gonna look at the price tag and say, which one is cheapest?
potentially, yes.
I've heard neither one's gonna be cheap. But
Yeah.
No,
No,
Okay, one's gonna be less expensive.
yeah, there we go. Glass half full answer.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just listening on Tuesday, our whole thing was we need to start being vocal and putting out there. So I think if you can help us get direction, which one makes the most sense,
Okay.
then we need to fight that way. And I'm not opposed to a letter either to let them know that we're staying engaged. I mean, that's at least what I heard on Tuesday.
Sounds good. And then my other question is, the next meeting, did you guys want any additional background on Mount St. Helens before you have another public meeting? Anything you want me to bring for the public? So we, just let me know and I'll be happy to get that stuff together for
I
you
think the Forest Service should be able to talk about
about
I-
this.
I
Yes.
know this is the first I've heard they've actually come to a conclusion. I knew they had stuff out there, but I didn't know they'd come to a conclusion.
Yes.
I would have asked them about it Tuesday if I didn't know.
I think just a general overview, at least a couple of times a month, but at least a general overview occasionally would be great.
Okay.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head how much water is in that lake? Is there a guesstimate, like it's so deep by so many feet wide and long and
How
it's
many
cubic feet of water, whatever it is?
What would they,
So it's about 100 feet deep and 3.5 square miles is the surface area. So I don't have a computer and I'm not
they had
doing,
to do a calculation if they're telling us we'd be 14 feet under, right? There has,
Yes.
number has to be somewhere.
Somewhere, that's what.
so I could calculate it based off of 100-foot depth and the 3.5 mile surface area and get you a rough number.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, they said it raised, oh, I didn't write that down, how much it raised by, it's in here what the original surface area was and how much the bottom of the reservoir was raised during the eruption.
Well, and every winter we have, it's gonna continue to go up if we don't have a way for that water to get out of there.
Yes. And they have a maximum safe level, which is when they start to panic.
Yeah. That'd be interesting, you know, how much it raised, because beforehand it was probably set and it had a good base and a good basin it sit in. And if it raised 75 feet, then you know that's ash barrier versus a good barrier. I'd be kind of just out of curiosity to know what that is.
And you've got to think that, once that is done, whatever decision is made, and we put more water into the Toutle, that's gonna affect what's happening at the SRS, as more water now comes down to that
Yeah.
point.
I did find your opening statement about how much we want you to dive into the tunnel.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's the engineers we like to, we're a very punny office.
That was a great discussion yesterday, and I gotta say, just from, I know Army Corps believes in raising the SRS. And the reason for that is they believe that if they can trap more, that the river has a natural, ability to remove some of that silt and stuff. And so they believe raising the SRS will help it downstream because it'll naturally remove. Now, I don't know about that, but that's what they believe. So,
Yeah. Okay, I don't understand that logic.
yeah.
What I believe is that we need a whole river system study to tell us what we really need to do and what the Corps' motion going forward needs to be.
Oh. And I don't disagree with that, but I'd have a dredge in there while you're doing the study. Because the study will take a while.
Yes, it does. And I know, studies always take a while and sometimes I cringe when I hear the word study because it's just something else to put on your
Yeah.
shelf, but it hasn't been looked at since the 80s on the whole, how the system's functioning and
Yeah.
how we should be. Right now, I think we take too many spot views because the Corps looks at the levees. The conservation district fixes the erosion here, but we don't look at where it is on the whole thing. So I think we need a more system-wide view and then be able to start making our projects. Yes, you can put your dredge in while we're getting our system-wide view,
Yeah.
because it will come back, but I think that's an important thing that should be moved
I
forward.
think that's the main issue that we have right now is what you just said, that hasn't been evaluated since the eighties. So the Corps is making a decision on raising that SRS based on information and how it was done back in the eighties, not on what's going on today,
Yeah.
not on what's taking place today.
I
And that is
shudder.
where I see the problem.
I shudder to think how much money's been spent on studies in the last 45 years. And Mother Nature says all that crap belongs at the beach.
Mhm.
That's where it's trying to get to.
Yep.
And
Can we dye it white? We could make a killing off of it.
no kidding, if you make that white sand,
I know.
oh my God.
In that river, in my opinion, is a temperamental toddler. Still does not know what she wants to do because geologically she's new. She's 40 years old, which in geologic time is nothing. So she still doesn't know where she really wants to be flowing. She's trying to figure it out.
And that river naturally wants to get rid of that sediment, like you just said.
Mhm.
And the SRS is not allowing it to do that.
If you could flash forward 130 years and that got back to the riverbed, pretty sure it'd be right back in the original riverbed that was there, because that's where your hard rock riverbed is. It carved it out over eons, but it was 130 years since the last time Mount St. Helens erupted, and it cleaned it out before we got there to mess it up or whatever, however we did this. But when Mother Nature set that thing off and put all that stuff back in that valley, it's trying to get downstream. It's trying to wash it out. And every winter, we're gonna see more and more of that stuff coming down. And I don't think raising the sediment retention dam is gonna do anything except give us another delay of problems that we're not fixing for another 15 years.
And somebody else will be sitting up here talking about it.
Yeah,
And I don't think we're opposed to fixing it. They just won't let us fix it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know? I mean, that's the thing. We're not sitting here, hey, we don't want to fix.
Yeah.
We're going, yeah, we want to fix. You just won't let us do what we think it needs to be done.
Well, and I look at the whole situation as, we're not working with Mother Nature, we're trying to obstruct it by doing what we're doing. Working with Mother Nature would be installing those log jams, dredging, taking the sediment out because it's trying to get rid of it anyway, but we can help by taking the sediment out, and that would be helping us. But that goes back to, we're going based off of 40-year-old data. We're not, nothing's upgraded to what the current situation is. Dredging has to be a part of it, though.
Yeah. Anyway. It was a good discussion yesterday. It was fun to do.
Sorry, I missed it.
You guys had a good turnout.
Weren't passed out on the sidewalk somewhere.
I know it because the commissioner said you were good. You feel like you got some direction?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So we're probably running past time, but I think finance is ready for budget time.
Are you the first part?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Well, I can't. Approved.
Thanks, you guys.
Good morning, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. So finance is up on our budget workshop today. Do we have any? Okay. short. Okay, we have our OAS presentation. And so we start off talking a little bit about the revenues that are actually in our department. And we're anticipating bringing in a little less in revenues, about 65,000. And that's because we allocate our personnel services, and part of our budget presentation is today we're going to be recommending reducing 1 FTE in the finance department. So getting right into it, personnel, we're recommending the position that I currently hold, which is finance director. To reduce that, I'm going to retire in December, and looking at that, we feel that we could maintain status quo with 2 FTEs, which is a finance manager and our finance analyst. So that would reduce our budget approximately $130,000. Because after that, there isn't a lot that we can cut in our budget. So we did reduce some other items in supplies, about $2,600. And then we also reduced some other areas in services, about $5,000. So for a total budget reduction of $138,000. And most of the reductions were in travel-related lines, and things like that. Then we also have our mailroom services. And here we just have a part-time person that processes our outgoing mail. And so we've tried to reduce a few things here, basically a total of $612. Non-departmental is one of our larger budgets that we oversee, and this has the majority of the revenues in this fund is from our lease payment that we receive from the landfill. That's the $7.5 million per year that we receive from that. The other fund is an interfund transfer, but it's basically to cover debt servicing for the morgue, and that's transferred from capital improvements account, and that's about $300,000. So those are the largest things. And then we have some franchise fees, royalties that we receive from cable, and we're anticipating that to be about $350,000 a year. It shows that we have a reduction from last year to this year, but that's because last year we received a one-time payment reimbursement from risk management. Non-departmental expenses. There wasn't much that we could reduce in this area, but we did look at some historical trends, and we were able to reduce about $24,000 from that overall budget. Most of this is related to transfers out to various departments that we're supplementing a few, but the biggest one is for our debt servicing, for the landfill debt servicing. And that's it. Do we have another slide? We have a few other, let me see if there's another slide. Did we send one? Let me look. See if there was another one. Nope. That's commissioners. I don't see it. We have a few other accounts that we manage as well, but they're not part of the general fund, like the Rural Public Facilities Fund. We basically analyze that on a yearly basis, and whatever we receive in, we let y'all know what's available. It's usually about $3 million, $2.8 to $3 million on that. And then we have What was some of the other ones? Oh, affordable housing, which is part of the document recording fees. That's small.
Yeah.
It was a very small amount.
Can I ask a question on the rural funds? I know we looked into ours because we're no longer a county designated as rural, but we'll still start receiving that.
We'll still be
But I've seen
receiving.
things like from EDC and different agencies that put applications in for different funds if they're not a rural, not designated rural. Now, it's gonna make it more difficult for them to get,
Right.
tap into some of those funds. Do we have any others within our arena that are tied like that? Do you know of?
I don't know of any per se, but
I think this is just the one we receive and we're not looking at other stuff.
yeah, I don't know if there's any related to facilities, for example.
Yeah, I
because
don't
we're
know if
looking-
other departments, if they apply for different grants or stuff, is there a rural designation kicker that gives you anything that you're aware of? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out if there's stuff out there and we should be aware.
I don't know in the health arena if there's anything either. I would assume there might be.
From the public works grant side, most of it's going to be on the economic income levels of the areas, not the real designation
Not
of
the
those.
designation, okay. And I thought we had agreement, you're staying here as long as,
As long.
or was that only my side?
Well, I said I would try, but I'm
Well,
getting,
through
ti-
December
I'm getting-
2026, right?
just, no, 25.
I'm up here as just to speak, I guess, on behalf, hopefully on Public Works at least, if Mike is the head nod. I want to echo the same sentiment. I don't want Kathy to go. I don't want her position to go. I talked to her ahead of time, let her know. I see that there could be some hardships from departments like ours who rely on that position heavily. Not only just from, of course, a finance with the obvious perspective, but it's a non-political position at the admin building that kind of provides by de facto leadership, right? I mean, we go to Kathy a lot. She makes recommendations for, or maybe not always for, or against departments. It's a resource. I'm a little worried with it going. We've seen it come and go over the last, I don't know, 6, 7 years. We've had, Claire, Kurt, Tracy, Kathy. And there's always a period kind of like of instability when that position's not filled because it's non-political, because it, like I said, it acts almost as, not to like to say the administrator word, but honestly it does as far as practical, application goes. We use that a lot, that role. I have some really recent examples of when we've used, I say used, worked with Kathy or other finance directors, River Suites, the ability for us to move forward in that purchase was heavily influenced by Kathy's ability to help us find funding. I think that if she was not in that role or that role didn't exist, I don't know that that would have happened, to be honest, because we don't have the capacity to chase down these budgets and what funding's okay for what, when, and where. The other example I had was the Legacy Park Rural Development Funds. We may not have been able to do that project without that funding application and approval. Actually, I was kind of worried and scared about it. I think I shared that with this board. And then the other example is the HOJ HVAC. Kathy was able to recommend law and justice funds to help us get us over that edge to be able to fund that project and not use external loans or external very heavily regulated grants. And so those are just like in the last, 6 months to 8 months that we've relied on and utilized her ability and leadership. Again, taking Kathy out of it, I don't want her to go. But that role, I think, is very influential with departments like ours in our ability to get things done. And I don't think we would be able to get as many things done as we have in the last couple of years if it wasn't for Kathy or Tracy before her, or Kurt. So that's it. I think we'll have a short-term gain of maybe saving $150,000 a year, but I'm wondering what we'll lose countywide if we don't have that position. So that's all. That's all I wanted to say. I really have no skin in the game. I'm not interested in the position. I won't apply for it, but I think that getting somebody in there that could provide leadership by de facto, maybe not by title, would be helpful. But That's it. Thanks.
Anything
End
else?
of my presentation.
Okay. Can we move right into Carolyn? She's here. Okay.
I was told the board did not want any paper this year, so, and I did exactly what Kathy told me to do. So here I am with nothing for you and just my laptop. We'll see how this goes.
Other
So,
people brought us candy.
oh, I did notice that, suck-ups. Yeah, I'm onto them. Yeah.
I was surprised how, I'm picking on Commissioner Farrell, man, he inhaled those things.
He has no meat on his bones. That's how, I don't know how he survives.
Yeah, they're gone.
All right, so you guys know I have a couple of different budgets. Only one, the auditors, is in the general fund, and Kathy asked me to focus on 3 facts for you. The budget reduction recommendations from the retreat provided a strong guiding framework for us to review each of the account line items and the historical costs and make changes. So I have 3 slides. That's it. I'm going to show you a slide where I agreed with OFM's recommendation. I made those reductions. The next slide is going to be, I met you halfway and here's why. And then the last slide is going to be areas that are out of my control and I wanted to bring to your attention. So the first slide highlights the areas, like I say, where we aligned, and I just made the cuts that OFM recommended. Those areas were computer software, phones. Those are largely because they're now in the IT allocation. Good decision. Select travel expenses such as mileage and other, and cut those by 50%, and less frequently used accounts such as repairs, leases, and rental equipment. So we agreed on those cuts. I made those cuts. The second slide highlights areas where I wasn't able to make the full recommendation, and I made partial reductions. I wanted to bring a more challenging consideration that I had during this budgeting process regarding travel, and I'm wondering how many people factored this in when making their cuts? My accounting staff recently sent out an email notification to departments so that they can plan accordingly for the passage of ESSB 5814. Right. So it expands the definition of retail sales to include conference registrations along with many other things. And you should keep this bill in mind because honestly, I see this is going to grow tremendously each year when Washington realizes, this is a great way to make up for lost revenue. We're just going to start taxing all kinds of new services that weren't taxed prior to this. So travel's one of them. For example, tax rates vary, as you know, from county to county, location to location. And my association utilizes Seattle and Spokane. They're the only 2 cities that can accommodate the large association that we have. So using Seattle as an example, the current tax rate is 10.35% there. And when combined with ongoing inflation in food and cost beverages, it results in a roughly 13 to 16% increase per person for conferences. So mixed, that inflation mixed with the cuts was really tough. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that bill also affects several of our contracts and services that.
Yeah, so a great example of where it's going to have a major impact is our security contract with Northwest Enforcement. That is now taxable, those services, and they previously were not taxable services. So just on the Hall of Justice security alone, it's going to add about $45,000 a year to our bill. So she's right. It's going to have some impact on all of our departments that use personal services because those are now going to be taxable items.
And we really don't know the full impacts yet. We are right on top of Department of Revenue looking for guidance. Feels a lot like, COVID times during CARES and COVID funding days when they're doing things with no guidance. But yeah,
State is out of control.
I would just be watching this because as soon as they see this revenue rolling in, I expect it to grow into all kinds of different fields. But with that information in mind, I was able to reduce meals and lodging, tuition and registration, each category by $500 each. And I made a slight reduction to printing and binding. Historically, while we haven't spent that much in that account to date, this is intentional. In the auditor's office, our strategy is to wait to the end of the year. We review our remaining funds and then we place bulk orders to get the best savings on things like paper and envelopes and printing. So the bigger our order, the bigger the discount. So while it may not look like we've spent that large budget, we typically buy for the next year. Stop me if you have any questions. Okay, this is the big one, the no reductions. And there are some areas where I would be amenable to some slight changes, but I wanted to bring to your attention some things. So these areas include office supplies, professional services and contract services, postage, cell phones, airfare, and dues and subscriptions. So office supplies, that's another one of those areas where we're intentionally strategic. That's actually where our paper comes from. And if we have a balance, we're going to order a large stock of paper at the end of the year to plan for the following year. So historically, we use those funds, and I don't think it's responsible to make a reduction if we don't have to. Postage is another area that's largely beyond our control. It's consistently rising in costs. We're required to mail the notices and tab renewals. They're unavoidable. Although we do everything possible not to overspend, but it's largely a requirement, not in our control. Cell phone charges. Well, it looks like we could have cut that cost. We're actually currently under budget, and that's because of the additional lines that were added, like many other departments. Legal made the recommendation that everybody should have a phone to use to be safe, and we've added lines which changed our monthly bill to where we're looking at roughly $2,900 annually instead, so I wasn't able to make those cuts there. Dues and subscriptions. This is the area where I had previously talked to you about some dues. For example, our Waco dues. These dues are going up because auditor services and needs are not getting met from Waco services. So we are hiring lobbyists. We have an RFP out right now for a lobbyist, which means in addition to inflationary costs, now auditors are looking at absorbing those costs for lobbyists in our WSACA dues. So not only could I not make the cut there, those costs are increasing. In addition, I have 5 divisions. We all rely on our association partners for training for all the changes that appear. That's GFOA, WFOA, and PREA for recording. So I built in a 3% increase for both those 26 and 27. And last one, I highlighted it for you. This is the area that I wanted to emphasize, really. This is professional services and contract services, and it is made up almost entirely with our contract for CPA services. We've talked about this in our finance committee meetings in the past. These are required services and they grow. Whenever we take on new responsibilities, additional funds, it ends up costing us more in review, right? And I'm going to give you an example. I think this was the right decision for the county, but I want to give you an example of the reality of it. When the treasurer's office entered into an investment contract with GPA, absolutely the best decision for the county. We're making money on it. But what happened was it compelled us to do a complete rework of their financials. And in doing so, this year led to a misstatement of $1.4 million. It took CPAs, SAO, treasurer's office, auditor's office, accounting staff, weeks to track down something so minuscule. We were mixing two accounting types, amortization and fair market value, which led to an overstatement. Anyway, lots of money, and it would have led to a finding for the county had we not had the professionals looking into this. In addition, departments are constantly contacting us to make accounting changes that sound more efficient for the departments. Unfortunately, government isn't always based on efficiency. We can and can't make some of these changes that are requested, but we always rely on the professionals. A most recent example of that is our sheriff's office, who requested a new fund, which is somewhat unusual for sheriff's offices. So we consulted with the CPAs to make sure we are accounting for that correctly. Do you have any questions for me on any of this? Or are you all numbered out? Have they, it's 3 p.m. Everybody's been talking all day. I'm sure you just want to be done.
Of the services that you use from Waco, what percentage would you say you have to hire out that you are responsible for?
So for Waco's conference is next week. And I think there should be some discussions amongst all elected officials and the board to find out who's actually using those services, because they're charging all of us equally and it's only utilized by half of the elected officials. So, and I want to support the elected officials that use it, but here I am asking you for money when I'm being charged for services that they can't provide. So the only tool that we have to utilize is to say, hey, your billing mechanism isn't working for us. So
And so do we subscribe to that as a county or
Yep.
do you? Oh, so it's not each elected office that does it?
yep, one bill to OFM each year for all elected officials. And I'll use an example. Out of the 39 counties, 7 auditors were registered this year for Waco, and it was so low in participation that Wasaka just canceled. So we're not, typically I would go because it's the one time out of the year that we get a free space to conduct our business meetings. And we just canceled. We're going to do it virtually so that we don't incur any costs. So we're being charged, but we don't. Our needs, unfortunately, have surpassed what they are able to provide. And in their defense, they have to provide everybody equally. They have to treat everybody the same, and we're just not the same.
So you're saying as an auditor, they're not meeting your needs?
Not at all. In fact, like I say, 7 auditors out of 39 were registered for Waco. And when we found out the registration was so low, most of us canceled. So we'll just do our business meeting online and get business done.
Is it, I don't know if part of is the right word, but Wasack and them are hooked together or not?
You know, I've never understood, this
They
would
operate out of
be
that same office?
the same building, but they're very different.
Okay.
And year fees, I know in the past, there was an effort to merge the two, and, you know, everybody, you know, you'll get those old timers that are really aligned with the people of an organization, and they're gonna fight for them to help them out. And those people are moving on, and we're getting new people in office, and what you're seeing is we're changing, and something needs to happen. The model doesn't work anymore, but just something to look at in the future. But again, why I'm coming to you with a request.
And I would defer to you, Mr. Chair, about Wasack. I personally, because I'm not involved in it, I don't know that I see the value that they bring to the table myself, because I just don't see it, but
We have questions on that for sure.
yeah.
I would have to wonder what the cost of the county hiring its own dedicated lobbyists compared to paying all these associations.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There's an underlying kind of tone that some of the smaller counties maybe look at once in a while is, would it be more efficient to hire a lobby that kind of lobbied for our small county needs? Because a lot of the stuff we do at Wasack is not stuff I would really rally for for our county. We do it because we're trying to support everybody, and you throw, some of the bigger counties have different needs than we have. So, you know, I think it needs to continue to be looked at, just like you're seeing there, yeah.
The billing model is what I'm opposed to. If my needs aren't being met, I no longer have a method in which to just pull my portion out. So they keep it one invoice, everybody gets treated the same. So off my soapbox.
With the Wasack billing, are the counties aren't billed all the same? Is it based on size?
Oh, they're based on size and of course, the biggest county, King County, is not even part of Wasack because they have their own lobbyists. They don't want to pay that fee. There's been talk, it hasn't happened at this point, that maybe Pierce and Snohomish will go that route too. And then those are the biggest funders of Wasack. So when you think about it, then the other counties, can Wasack even exist if they don't have those funds? So
Well, and I think to Carolyn's point, you're gonna feed the baby that's got the biggest mouth, right? I mean, and if we're not one of those counties that has that bigger subscription fee, how much attention are we actually gonna get from them?
yeah.
Yeah, each affiliate is allowed 2 priority bills. So, but as you know, as auditors, we cover so many areas. We'll have 160 bills at any one time, meeting weekly, trying to digest the effects, the cost, what's going to happen, get out there and talk to the right legislators, make sure that they're educated about the impacts. But those 2 priority bills, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the defense
Yeah.
that we're
Well,
constantly paying.
And
Like,
that was the point I was gonna make. In reality, what happens is we end up just playing defense because bills come in so fast and furious. Alls you are is running defense, trying to fight stuff you're coming in. The opportunity to actually introduce something you like is rare.
And before the session even started the last time, they had 2,500
Yeah.
bills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the whole time is picking out bills that we think are very detrimental, and you're working, trying to change the language a little bit to make it less, I want to throw up type stuff, you know?
Exactly.
Well,
So it gets frustrating.
and my perception is with all the budget constraints that counties and municipalities are having put on them, those organizations, their fees aren't getting less, and I don't know that they're bringing more to the table to justify what they're charging at this point. And with everybody having to watch every nickel and dime because the state's after it, you gotta hold on to what you can and really evaluate what you're getting for what you're paying.
We had a discussion on it last year, and I imagine we should probably have a discussion on it this year when those dues start rolling in.
Well, speaking about nickels and dimes, you will see, I hate to even bring this up, you will see more revenue from my office. I didn't forecast well because I don't know exactly what it'll look like. The new fees that were dropped on us for departmental licensing, there are so many that it took multiple trainings and I'm about 125 slides to break them all down. Luckily, they are the owners of the licensing software and they have to program all those fees into the software. But we will see a $1.50 increase on basic tab renewals, which should amount to a fairly significant increase. I know $1.50 doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about everybody's tabs, it should amount to a fairly significant increase in our licensing revenue, which I don't jump up and down about because it's an additional fee, but I did want to let you know that we will see additional revenue. And I had some ideas about shifting costs and comparing to other counties and things that we have available to us. But before, I was going to bring it up in this budget presentation, but I got the new facility space bill. And so I have a horrible time just passing all these costs and new requirements onto the jurisdictions. And so I planned to say, hey, I have this opportunity, we always have in Cowlitz County, to take my salary and bill any portion of it really to elections. That's where I spend the lion's share of my time. Some auditors in some counties bill their entire salary to elections. But then I got, I'm sorry, Kathy, I think it's another good idea, but it's a $25,000 increase in costs for elections. And I just couldn't, when I was crunching the numbers, I just couldn't pass on that much of an increase. But down the road, just know that it is something that we could look into. Shift some costs from the general fund into elections. Sorry, not to throw you under the bus there.
Which is the fact that we looked at billing elections is shifting general fund cost over to elections. So, yeah. And so I feel for you. It would be if you did part of your salary and now we've got facility costs shifted to you too, that would be two things that you would be adding at the
A
same
lot,
time.
yeah, a
Yeah,
big hit,
big
right? Maybe at a later time, we could phase in a percentage. Slow. But I didn't bring anything on elections. I mean, I have them here with me. They're pretty much status quo. The elections budget didn't increase. It really is kind of status quo. If you had any specific questions for me. Good, I'm boring.
You're good.
It's always good to be boring.
Not gonna label that, but yeah.
Or it's just 3 in the afternoon and you're done.
Let's say efficient.
Well, that's all I had. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, are we expecting
We have,
or
the
you
c-
just,
because they were moving yesterday, that's why they weren't here yesterday.
okay,
We couldn't, that was just asking way too much.
yeah,
And they were moving, so, they are here to do their presentation
okay.
and I'll bring it up for them. quick.
Catch our breath from the stairs.
Yeah.
Welcome to our world. So are we still expecting Ryan's group too?
No, Ryan he didn't think he would be back from a meeting that he had to go to. So we've moved him to another date.
Okay,
So he will be here. And so later, he'll be here, I think in October. So we have our clerk's office and they have a PowerPoint and I'll push through it and turn it over to Stacy.
I don't have a whole big production for you today. Basically, the PowerPoint that I did is just kind of a thing for you guys on what the clerk's office does. We're kind of I don't know if you would call it an anomaly, but it's not really clear exactly what our responsibilities are to a lot of people. So I just kind of ran that down for you. My budget, I don't have any major changes. So I'm going to start just by telling you that we're responsible for all the records for Superior Court. Last year in 2024, we clerked over 23,469 hearings. So we have to provide a clerk for the courtroom for all of those hearings. The clerk is responsible for exhibits and taking the minutes for what's happening in court. We received 1,939 exhibits that we were responsible for taking custody of last year. We filed 4,605 cases and 111,273 documents. All those documents have to be entered into our case management system. They are, our case management system has like 12 different tabs, and it's financials, it's hearings, it's judgments, all kinds of different tabs. And so it requires them to, each pleading can require several different tabs and sometimes different clerks. So for instance, we have our criminal clerks that will enter a judgment and sentence. And then that has to then go to our bookkeeper who sets up the judgment on that. Some of those documents get emailed or scanned out to other agencies, other departments. So we're responsible for making sure that those records are transmitted to where they need to go. We assist an average of about 100 customers a day at our front counter. That doesn't include the phone calls and the emails. We did not get a total for our phone calls, but we did handle over 204,000 emails last year. And the customer transactions at our window with those 100 customers can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 45 minutes. Sometimes we have customers that really need a lot of extra help. So we can't ever really predict what comes in at our counter. So that's a challenge when it comes to training. We also are responsible for appeals. So we have to prepare all of the appeals that are sent up to the Court of Appeals. We handle the appeals that are sent over to our office from district court. So if somebody loses their district court small claims case and they appeal it, it comes over to our office. We set that up and manage all the dates, send everything back to the judges for their review. Let's see. Archive scanning, we've got 805 boxes that we currently have ready to be scanned. Before we went on to scanning, everything was put onto Laserfish. We stopped doing Laserfish. It was on microfilm, and then we went to Laserfish. Now we're on Odyssey. So all of those records have to be, the Laserfish transmitted over, the microfilm, we had that all transmitted over, and then we have case files that have had nothing done with them. 805 boxes of those. So that's one of the major projects that we've been working on for several years now.
Where do you put 805 boxes?
Huh?
Where do you put 805 boxes?
Upstairs in the jail, downstairs in the basement. We have a huge storage room on the second floor that we just emptied out and moved up all the storage up to the the jail so that we can use that during the HVAC project. So those case files and boxes were stored everywhere. And of course, somebody comes in and wants to see their case file, you have to figure out, we've got a great records department. She's got a tracking list of what cases are where so that they could run, and they might be going up to the jail to get a case file or down to the basement. Hopefully,
What kind of security do those have to have?
they're all public records. So the only security they really have to have is they have to be under our lock and key. So they're on our, the cells that are upstairs, we have the padlocks for. The basement rooms downstairs, we're the only ones with keys. They just have to be, safe from the elements, basically. So
Okay.
What's the retention limit we have to have those for?
forever. Superior Court records are kept permanently. So case files in Superior Court are retained forever. So we have things from a long time ago. So yeah, we don't have a whole lot that, things are sent to the state archives as well. So a lot of our really, really old things that have historical value have been sent to the state archives. We continue to monitor if anything needs to be sent to the state archives because we're scanning all the original documents now. We keep wills, original wills. And like I said, we check with state archives for what kind of documents they want to keep to maintain the originals. But our records are held permanently. The only thing we get to get rid of is like transitory, our bookkeeping records, reports, but case files are subject to forever and ever.
In a hard copy, or you can transfer them over to digital?
We can transfer them to digital. That's why it's so important that we get all those 805 boxes scanned in, because our microfilm was deteriorating. So the film itself was so bad that we sent it out to a vendor to have it done. And there's case files that are really, really hard to read because that deterioration has started. So we're really working hard to make sure that the originals that we still have, we get scanned in before they're damaged in any way. We did have some that were wet a few years ago. Down in the basement, there was a little bit of flooding, but we managed to get things dried out. And yeah, Superior Court records are pretty important.
Have you ever had to produce files that are 100 years old for any reason, unless somebody's writing a history book, I guess?
We have genealogy researchers that come in and want things. Yeah, we have people that come in and will sit at they used to sit at our microfilm machine and search through and look at case files. You get requests. Somebody wants to trace their ancestry, or there's some kind of property dispute and they want something that was done forever ago. So yeah, you do have to once in a while pull up some really old documents.
Okay.
So budget wise, like I said, we don't have a lot of changes. Our budget basically is employee costs. We have salary and benefits. That's our huge cost. We did some savings. Our overall savings for 2025, for 2026, I'm sorry, was about $37,000. Just minor cuts, because like I said, our costs are staff related. We got rid of a few maintenance contracts. For instance, we don't have to maintain a contract on our microfilm machine anymore. We're getting everything scanned, so we got rid of that. That was a savings. We've cut down on our travel, our tuition, the things that we could. We're really watching our office supplies. We tend to have a savings there every year, so we watch that and make sure we are saving where we can.
What does it mean to have files scanned, proofed, to have them proofed?
So proofed is, what we do is we have 3 scanners. We have 3 people that are scanning. One person scans a case file or a document that comes in on a daily basis, and then one of the other scanners in our records department proofs those documents to make sure that nothing is askew, everything looks like I said, they're permanent records. So when you scan that original in, it has to be perfect. If there's something on a page that you can't scan really good, we have stamps that we'll use that say poor original, so it doesn't look like we missed something in scanning. But proofing is huge because we've had cases come up where it's been scanned and there's a page missing. You can't recreate that once you shredded that original, so.
So somebody's got to review every page that is scanned in to make sure that it's legible
Yep,
and there's no pages missing.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I bet that's a fun job.
that's why one person scans, one proofs, and then another scans and another proofs. Nobody wants to sit. And that's one of the things that the staff out in the office do, is they help with the daily scanning too, if they have time,
Okay.
which doesn't happen very often. For one, there's a ton of work to do, and for another, nobody really loves sitting there proofing, but we do have people that come in specifically for that too. We have a part-time person that comes in and does a lot of proofing for us. I know,
Thank you.
monotonous. I couldn't do it.
What makes two of us? Jeez.
Any questions for me? I said, we kept it real simple with our budget and cut where we can. Our only major increase for 2027 managed to be IT costs, so we cut where we could. And we're continuing to watch this year's.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Short and sweet.
That's it for this week's budget workshops. We'll be back next week.
Kathy,
Yes?
one of the things that stuck in my head a few minutes ago, maybe I needed to ask Carolyn this question, but the personal services are now taxable. What all fits into that category? Is
Well,
it an easy list?
no, it's not. It's, and the good news is that if you have a contract that's already in place, that contract is exempt until the contract expires and you have to do a new contract. So there's a few that will be exempted right away because we're still in with the contract. But like I said, the one that's one of our largest ones is our security contract, and it is now taxable. And
Why is
so
that considered personal service?
because it's performed by an individual, so that's personal services.
Isn't everything?
I was gonna say,
Just about everything.
Isn't-
I-
Telling you is everything you have is gonna be
Individual.
taxed, yeah.
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 They-
Wait,
Yeah.
And these went into effect, I think, October 1, or will be going into effect. So it is a large list of items that will be taxed in. So
Do you know when the fees that Carolyn referred to, like the $1.20 or whatever for the tabs, when do those go into effect? No.
no, I don't know when those go into effect,
Wow,
but
it's
yeah.
incredible, just incredible.
how much vacation do you have before the end of the year?
I do have a week, a little over a week, and then I'm going to take 2 floating holidays. So, yeah, but that's it. I'll be here otherwise.
I think we just canceled December.
I know you gotta be here through the 4th, right?
Yes, I got to be here through the budget. I'm going to be here through the budget, but, yeah, so, but one of the things I find very interesting in Washington is in Texas, all state agencies, they were exempt from sales tax. And so they did not rely on governmental agencies to pay sales tax. They relied on consumers And so I find it very, when I came here, I thought, why do you have to pay sales tax? I was so accustomed to Texas where we were exempt as an entity of the state.
This is
Yeah, this is the
Washington
state
State.
that-
We're not exempt
No.
from anything.
This
No.
is the state that thinks that EBT cards are a net gain in revenue. So-
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh
that's,
my God. Yeah, oh, yeah, okay.
And just so you know, the state, they just sent out their revenue estimates. They just had an economic, and there's an article about it today.
Yeah.
That things are not as rosy, and they're expecting less revenues.
We heard about it
Yeah.
last night from Representative Orcutt, and it doesn't sound good.
Right.
This, yeah,
I wonder
I don't
why.
know.
what did he say? A net negative 700 million
Yeah,
when it's all said and done
yeah.
For this quarter or this year
for the fiscal period?
fiscal?
Yeah,
year?
it's, the report that I saw said for 25 and 20 through 27, negative 400. And then the next session, another negative 400 something. So a total of 900 million.
They can't seem to figure out that they can't tax themselves into prosperity. They keep trying over
Yeah,
and
$2
over
billion
and
in
over
there.
and over, and it just keeps spiraling and they don't get it. Anyway. It, it affects us in the sense, and I talked a little bit about it last night, is when we see it in the sales tax receipts, because it really binds down the people and their spending power and stuff like that. And we see that in sales tax receipts, you know. You keep taking money out of their pocket, they don't have it to spend.
Yep. It's a direct correlation.
And now we're seeing it, they're gonna tax services, so they're gonna take some more from us, which is basically just a. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, they're hitting us on all levels. I just found out 2 weeks ago that the pheasant release program that they have on the west side of the mountain, that they're closing that down. And it's one of the only government programs that it funds itself. They
Yeah.
charge enough that it funds itself, and that they're looking at this being the last year to do that, because the money that it generates goes into the general fund. It doesn't have its own, departmental fund under pheasant hunting or fish and game or whatever it is. It all goes into the general fund. So that program, they're looking to do away with it, to do away with it. And the gentleman that was telling me about it told me that one of the board members on the Fish and Game board said that she was quoted as saying that this is 2025. We can't have people walking around with loaded guns.
Can't have a program
Yeah.
that works. It's
Yeah, it
efficient.
works. It
Yeah,
funds itself, but-
That's a thing in Lewis County, because I grew up there and went to Centralia High School, where they had that big pheasant farm by the high school. It's been there forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I would say that that's a call to all hunters, whether you pheasant hunt or not. They're coming after everything.
Yeah. Never stops.
No.
Okay, now we've brightened up today. Thanks for all your work,
You're welcome. You're
and
welcome.
we'll get back after it again next week, right? Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I've got a couple of meetings tomorrow and Friday that are in conflict. And so I don't know, like, the AAA DSW, that aged that is at, Friday, and then also the COG meeting that are both happening Friday at 1:00. Got a preference which one I go to or zoom in?
If you were asking me, I think probably COG is more
Okay,
preference. We kind of, Commissioner Rader and I gave Bill Fashing a little bit of marching orders on the whole watershed thing, so he might talk about that tomorrow.
oh, awesome.
Or Friday or whenever
Okay.
it is.
Awesome.
What was the other one? Did you want somebody to try to cover the other meeting for you?
Well,
Is that the aging one down in Vancouver?
well, the aging one is in Vancouver, yeah. And that's Cowlitz Conference of Governments is Thursday at noon. But this Council of Government, I guess I'm reading it, it says DSHS with Reardon.
Oh,
I don't think that's the same as the CW cog. I don't know. I'll do the cog meetings and figure it out. Go from there.
Yeah.
Are we all going on the family promise tour? Rick, are you doing that tomorrow or Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow. Or is that just me? Okay. Okay,
I've been over there a couple times.
I've got it on there for 1 o'clock, yeah.
so do I. Okay.
Yeehaw.
Wasn't able to find the video Land County. I wasn't able to tune into their discussion on moratorium on the TIF. But I did pull up their Facebook and the comments on it and it sounded, they wanted the county to do a moratorium. They thought the port was out of control. That was a pretty strong message, at least the people that posted on their
Yeah.
Facebook on that. So I thought I'd touch base with Doug again probably next week and see what's in it. If we want to do this, what kind of document do we need? I think we all agree we need to get ahead of that a little bit. And
Yeah, I think us passing a resolution to do that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Based on input from other agencies that are thinking
Yeah.
along those lines.
it said in there, they had a really good turnout and the people were not happy with the port doing that. And they were talking much higher numbers than we were.
Yeah.
I want to say close to like six figures pretty much.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I heard through the grapevine that one of the municipalities in our county is actually wanting to look at enacting a TIF.
Yeah,
for one of their projects.
absolutely.
Which county?
Ours.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had Brian Magnuson talk to me. I went over to the kickoff meeting for
Ron?
yeah. And he cornered me before that thing started and said he was talking to one of the officials in Waukegan County that told him that the way things are going down there, that they're in so much financial trouble that he figures that Waukegan County will not exist in 2 years.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, either they'll have to become part of the county this way or go on the other way.
Wow,
Somebody's gonna
interesting.
have to absorb them.
That would be wild.
I pictured wild is how would you pick that whole thing up?
I don't know.
With no extra help from Olympia,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Just another unfunded mandate.
yeah.
That's interesting. I'll have to,
Huh.
next time I see one of their commissioners, I'll ask.
Well, that's exactly what Brian Magnuson said when he told me about it. He said, "Isn't that wild?" I said, "Yeah, that's about as far out there as you can get."
Mhm.
Well, I guess I point out, and we talk about it quite often, that we're a little bit unique and we're lucky we have a landfill that can contribute $7.5
Yeah.
million to it.
Yeah.
There's maybe only a couple counties there, less than a handful anyway, that have landfills and can have any of that kind of revenue. So we are fortunate that way.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Well, can we keep our head above water?
As long as we're in office.
Yeah. Hope so.
Start working on my dog paddle.
Yeah.
Okay. We will adjourn.